Welcome to IAED, International Association for Peace and Economic Development session. As a part of the International Leadership Conference under the theme Opportunity and Hope at a Time of Global Crisis, Interdependence, Mutual Prosperity, and Universal Values, hosted by UPS Korea, Japan, and Asia Pacific. I'm Masatate Kajikuri, the session moderator. I'm very pleased to welcome you all. In this session 9, we will hear speeches regarding to the role of business leaders in the post-COVID era. Our speakers come from various nations, such as America, Korea, Japan, Canada, Malaysia, Cambodia, Kyrgyzstan, and Marshall Islands. I'd like to contribute to the idea Asia Pacific Union with the business leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker of our session is Mr. Thomas McDavid. He is the chairman of the Washington Times and serves as global coordinator of IMAP and IAED. He is also chairman of HJ Magnolia Global Foundation and HJ Magnolia USA, a corporate group of 46 companies in Korea, Japan, and the United States. Now, allow me to welcome our first speaker, Mr. Thomas McDavid, to deliver his speech. Please join me in welcoming Mr. McDavid with a round of applause.
Thank you so very much for that kind introduction, Reverend Masatate Kajikuri. Konnichiwa. And special thanks to Dr. Chung Sik Young, Regional Group Chair of the Asian Pacific region, and my good friend and colleague, Honorable Eknak Dakal, Chairman of UPF for Asia Pacific, for their invitation to speak to you this afternoon. It's a special honor to join such an accomplished panel of experts from the Asia region, including my very accomplished colleague and friend, Mr. Sophia Kim, Chairman of HJ Magnolia Foundation in Korea. Together, we work with some network of some 46 companies founded by the late Dr. Reverend Sun Myung Moon and his wife, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. And these are in diversified fields, including hotels, resorts, media, the marine industry, fishing, machining, technology, pharmaceuticals, health products, and automotive parts. We have a very accomplished group of people that run those, and tremendous employees, and most of all, tremendous customers. Today, I want to tell you about a new innovative global effort to leverage the strengths of business leadership in pursuit of lasting peace, prosperity, and human flourishing. This program is called the International Association for Peace and Economic Development. We shortened the acronym to IAED. I'd like to talk about who we are and what we do, what we stand for, and how you can be involved. The International Association of Peace and Economic Development was launched in February of this past year in Seoul, Korea, under the banner of Universal Peace Federation by our co-founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, as the newest of 6 divisions which make up UPF. The World Summit gathered over 6,000 delegates convened under the themes of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. The IAED conference featured such global business leaders as the well-known investor Jim Rogers and Neil Bush, son of the late President George H.W. Bush, who serves as chairman of the Points of Light Foundation. I used to work there and know Neil very well. Along with Dr. William Imeke, a professor from Columbia University's Business School and a global expert on social value investing. My good friend and partner, Mr. Gerald Willis, served as our conference director and brought some 30 experts in the field of business, entrepreneurism, and management that focused on the role of business for the bigger purpose. You can learn more about that conference at World Summit 2020 at upf.org. Guided by the belief that every person deserves a life of dignity, IAD seeks to promote and facilitate projects that reduce the burden of poverty in communities that are underprivileged. It's also our belief that business leaders have the responsibility to work on projects that make the world safer and more secure. We believe it is their duty to help contribute to economic development, to establish world peace and equality for all. I am so proud to work with IAD because it's rooted in the philosophy that we are all one family under God. Ultimately, it is by this outlook that will produce long-term mutual prosperity, sustainability, and world peace. We will initiate and implement projects that address our world's most significant challenges. We primarily focus on generating tangible change in communities by tackling issues which demand strategic and targeted coordination of key business leaders, innovators, government officials, with community leaders and people on the ground. We offer a unique value-added approach in facilitating partnerships through our exceptional and expansive network of groups and individuals that UPF has fostered since its founding in 2005. There's nothing like it in the world to see the vast networks that UPF has set up. Lastly, we are committed to offering opportunities to business leaders and others to communicate, innovate, and collaborate. We're in North America, Africa, the Caribbean and Central America, Middle East, South America, Europe, Asia and the Pacific, of course, and Korea and Japan. Our mission is to foster communication and collaboration among business leaders, governments, and others to reduce the burden of poverty and give developing countries and underprivileged communities the opportunity to live a prosperous life through economic development. And our vision is a world where underprivileged communities have a chance to live a life of dignity and prosperity through better business for the greater good. As Dr. Moon said before almost 100 members of the US Congress a couple years ago, that the problems in this world, especially during the COVID-19 era, are so complex and so deeply entrenched that human power alone cannot possibly solve these issues. If we could, it would have been done already. And for that reason, we must recognize the existence of our Creator. In business, mindset is vital. If you're an entrepreneur and you believe in yourself, you can make anything happen. The same thing is true in a higher realm. Our mindset of how we solve these problems as a human community depends on our sensibility and awareness of the existence of God. And that's what makes UPF unique. In that sense, the IAED network is new, about a year old. We're growing rapidly, and we look forward to working with all of you in the business field and entrepreneurs and young people that want to connect with a network of folks all over the world that want to make a difference. We do that through 4 different programs: education and professional development, public-private partnerships, working with investors in sustainable projects, and working with project partners and stakeholders all over. So my dear friends, in conclusion, we invite you to lend your wisdom, your passion, your experience and talent to help build the IAD network in Asia Pacific region, which is really the center of the world now. And we look forward to working together all over the world. More than anything, we hope that you can benefit from this new effort. I congratulate my colleagues in Asia Pacific, and congratulations on your ILC. We're coming to the close of that. Thank you for your attention, and may God bless you, your families, and your significant work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas McDavid, for giving such informative and interesting speech. Next, the second speaker of our session is Mr. Sophia Kim. He served in various capacities, including Director of the Culture Department for the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, President of Pyeongil Communications, and the Chairman of the Hyojeong Global Unification Foundation. Currently, as the Chairman of Hyojeong HJ Magnolia Foundation, Korea. He leads the foundation in its mission to operate its business and manage its assets while practicing and sharing the principles of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values throughout the world. Let's welcome Mr. Sophia Kim with a round of applause.
존경하는 전 세계 경제 지도자 여러분, 코로나19의 대유행에도 불구하고 과학기술의 발전에 힘입어 이렇게 온라인을 통해서 여러분과 소통할 수 있게 되어 다행으로 생각합니다. 저는 HJ 매그놀리아 한국재단 이사장을 맡고 있는 김석병입니다. 코로나19로 사람들의 일상이 완전히 달라지고 있습니다. 사람 간의 접촉이 제한되면서 제품이나 서비스를 비대면으로 거래하는 이른바 언택트 트렌드를 만들어내고 있습니다. 호모 언택트라는 말까지 등장하였습니다. 이러한 언택트 트렌드는 비즈니스에서도 디지털화를 더욱 가속화하고 있습니다. 이제 온라인뿐만 아니라 오프라인에서도 드라이브스루 등 무인 거래가 활성화되고 있습니다. 근무 현장에서도 회사가 아닌 집에서의 원격 근무가 늘어나고 생산 현장에서도 로봇을 활용하고 하는 사례가 더욱 늘어나고 있습니다. 과거 글로벌 시가총액 선두에 있던 회사들은 온라인 플랫폼 기업으로 완전히 재편되고 있습니다. 구글, 애플, 아마존은 이미 시가총액이 1조 달러에 달하고 있으며 한국의 네이버와 카카오도 역대 최대 실적을 기록하고 있습니다. 과거 제조업 시대 생산의 3요소는 토지, 자본, 노동력이었지만 요즘 시대에는 인터넷망, 데이터, 기술이라고 말합니다. 이제 코로나 이후에는 모든 기업이 선택의 여지 없이 AI 기업이 되어야 하는 디지털 뉴노멀 시대가 도래했습니다. 디지털 뉴노멀 시대의 주인공은 전 세계 50억 이상의 핸드폰 사용자입니다. 디지털 뉴노멀 시대에는 플랫폼을 기반으로 공급자와 수요자가 실시간으로 매칭될 수 있기 때문에 배달의 민족 같은 배달앱, 공유경제 넷플릭스 같은 구독경제가 발달하게 됩니다. 또한 대중을 대상으로 한 매크로 마케팅을 대신하여 초개인화된 1:1 마케팅이 주요시 되고 있습니다. 초개인화 마케팅은 AI와 알고리즘을 통한 개인별 맞춤식 마케팅을 말합니다. 한편 플랫폼 기업의 독식으로 기존 전통 산업이 붕괴되고 부익부와 빈익빈의 소득 격차 문제는 코로나 디바이드라고 불릴 정도로 심화될 것으로 보입니다. 이렇게 급변하는 환경에서 생존을 넘어 성장하는 방법으로 전문가들은 리질리언스를 강조합니다. 리질리언스는 외부 충격에 의한 피해를 스스로 극복해내는 회복력을 말합니다. 그런데 이러한 회복력의 근원은 바로 고객 중심의 경영입니다. 비대면 경영은 제품 중심에서 고객 중심으로 빠르게 이동하고 있습니다. 위기 때일수록 비록 손해를 보더라도 고객과의 신뢰관계의 유지에 더욱 최선을 다하라는 것입니다. 아마존 같은 기업이 글로벌 1위가 될 수 있었던 것은 단지 IT 선두 기업이기 때문만이 아니라 고객을 진심으로 위하는 기업 문화가 뒷받침하고 있기 때문입니다. 이와 같은 조언들은 공생, 공영, 공의가 지향하는 위하는 삶의 철학과도 일맥상통합니다. 여기에 더 나아가 총재님께서는 경영자들에게 부모와 같은 역할을 하라고 말씀하십니다. 이러한 상황에서 부모의 입장이라면 경제적으로 고통받는 종업원과 협력업체, 나아가 세계인을 위한 기업의 사회적 책임을 소홀히 할 수 없을 것입니다. 문선명 총재님께서는 2009년 말씀에 보면 앞으로 돼지 등 동물의 바이러스가 사람에게 전파될 수 있음을 경고하셨고, 이는 노아 때 홍수 심판보다 더 무섭다고 하셨습니다. 한학자 총재님께서는 이러한 질병과 자연재해들의 근본 원인은 인간의 이기심으로 인해서 하늘 부모님께서 창조하신 아름다운 지구가 병들어 갖고 있기 때문이라고 말씀하셨습니다. 또한 작년 국제과학통일회의에서는 환경 파괴로 인한 기후변화 문제 해결을 위해 신과학기술의 상용화를 강조하신 바 있습니다. 하지만 일부 경영들에 의해 고객의 삶의 터전을 파괴하는 이기적이고 모순적인 비즈니스가 행하여지고 있는 것이 현실입니다. 지구의 환경은 이러한 경제인들의 작은 이기심들이 모여 서서히 병들어가고 있습니다. 우리 경제인들은 지금부터라도 기후변화의 심각성을 인식하고 우리의 비즈니스가 지구를 아름답게, 인류를 건강하게 하는데 책임을 다하도록 노력해야 합니다. 한국재단도 포스트 코로나 시대를 대비한 변화와 혁신의 노력을 이어가고 있습니다. 기계 자동차 부분은 탄소 배출을 억제하는 수소 전기차 개발에 전념하고 있습니다. 현대, 기아차와 공동으로 5건의 연구 개발 프로젝트를 진행하고 있고, 관련 기술의 확보를 위한 4건의 국책과제도 수행하고 있습니다. 최근 관광공사의 설문조사에 따르면 사람 간의 접촉이 어려워지면서 여행객의 가장 선호하는 여행지는 자연이라고 말합니다. 관광 레저 부분은 이러한 트렌드에 발맞춰 용평 리조트를 둘러싼 발왕산 전체를 자연과 더불어 인간의 마음과 몸을 치유하는 공간으로 만들어가고 있습니다. 경제 지도자 여러분, 미래는 저절로 오는 것이 아니라 만들어가는 것입니다. 경제 환경이 급변하는 지금은 미래를 만들어가는 경영자의 의사결정이 그 어느 때보다 중요한 때입니다. 코로나19로 인한 경제 위기를 오히려 기회로 삼고 비즈니스 파트너와 고객과의 신뢰관계를 더욱 돈독히 하여 위기 이후 더욱 강한 기업으로 거듭나도록 합시다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sophia Kim. Our third speaker is Mr. Hirofumi Sato, Chairman of International Highway Foundation. He started his career as the Director of General Affairs and the Managing Director at the Sekai Nippo newspaper in Japan from 1983 until 1991. He passionately served as the director in 2008. Also, he is the executive director and secretary general on 2011. And on March 2017, he became the fourth president of the International Highway Foundation. Let's welcome Mr. Hirofumi Sato with a round of applause.
Today I am talking about the creation of a new civilization of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, and the International Highway Project. In this presentation, I'll be covering the International Highway Project, referred to as Iaysb in the following, as the realistic core project to realize the world of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values from the following 3 points. But first, interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal value are the new philosophy of our civilization. The fundamental problem of modern society today is that communism or capitalism. could reform the social system, but both of them have failed to improve the morality of the human being, leading to the deadlock and no alternative like the third way had been proposed. Both are not merely an economic concept, but also have served as the comprehensive philosophy of the civilization that includes political, religious, ideological ideas. Therefore, new vision must surpass the existing these two with great integration of economics, politics, and religions. And that is the vision of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal value. Among these three pillars, the interdependence is an economic philosophy, the mutual prosperity is a political philosophy, and the universal value are the religious philosophy. And together to serve as the major pillar to constitute the ideal world centered on this new philosophy of civilization. Also, another great difference between this new philosophy of the civilization and the previous two is that this philosophy is founded upon absolute value of Godism, which seeks fundamental resolution of actual problems by practicing the love of God, that is to say, true love to live for the sake of others. So the question is, it is really possible to create a new philosophy of civilization centered on such an absolute value? I am deeply aware of this possibility within the IHP as a project leading up to the establishment of ideas for the realization of a society based on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal value. So let me give you some clear explanation to why that is possible and how it's related. Second, international highway projects and the creation of the civilization. Let us look back into human history to examine the possibility to create the civilization by laws. The ancient Roman Empire built the Roman laws, which has been a high standard laws network, and it became the basis of the creation of ancient Mediterranean civilization. When we inspect this historical example, the possibility of creation of civilization by the laws would be proved to be a historical reality. During the Roman Empire, about 150,000 kilometers long Roman roads network had been stretched around the empire, and it became the foundation of building the civilization, which was incomplete but similar to that of interdependent mutual prosperity and universal value for the first time in human history about 2,000 years ago. This is the historical lesson that can be utilized in today's modern society. Therefore, I firmly believe that the IHP can be called the 21st century Roman laws, and it is a global vision and can realistically provide dream and hope to the confused and impacted human society after the corona pandemic. Third, creation of the new economic philosophy and the international highway project. It has never been so required as now to build a new economic philosophy which can surpass and to replace the both ideologies of capitalism and communism. Especially after the corona pandemic, we cannot reverse the tide of history. Therefore, an important and urgent task in the economic field is to build a new economic philosophy that can lead the way of today's world economy to a new economic order that is more public serving and vibrant. At the same time, our UPF group owns IHP and holds the merit to utilize it to enlighten various people with the new economic philosophy centering on the interdependent economic philosophy created through promoting and testing this project. In a sense, building a new economic philosophy seemed to be a more valuable mission than building a highway infrastructure. At the 10th ICAS conference in 1981, the date founder President Sam Moon has shared his vision of the international highway and emphasized the following. I believe it's time to propose a new academic theory about social and economic organization. And we need to establish a new international economic order based on them. As a result, we will be able to avoid massive economic waste and loss of resources. On this basis, an ideal world will be established. Permanent peace will be realized, and people will enjoy a happy and affluent life. He also requested the establishment of academic theory on new economic organization in conjunction with the promotion of the Iaysb. IAED need to build and implement this new economic philosophy that can surpass both capitalism and communism. And to do so, promoting the Iaysb strongly will thrust its effort. In conclusion, the important mission of IAED is to educate the world business people and intellectuals with this newly established new economy philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hirofumi Sato. The fourth speaker is Mr. Henry Lee, Honorary Consul of Malaysia in Toronto, Canada. Prior to immigrating to Toronto in 1987, he was working as an economist for 10 years in a Malaysian government agency responsible for promoting foreign investment and industrial development in Malaysia. Let's welcome Mr. Henry Lee with a round of applause.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First, I would like to congratulate Universal Peace Federation and Chinese People's Federation for World Peace for organizing this timely leadership conference, which focuses on the current global crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemics. I'm indeed honored to be given the opportunity to speak on the roles business and community leaders can play in facing this unprecedented challenge. In the last 9 months, for the first time in my life, I witnessed how the human civilization comes under siege by an invisible enemy, the COVID virus. The delicate social, economic, and cultural fabric in the world is adversely impacted. No amount of words can describe the human sufferings and psychological pain, especially in the less developed world. The world economy is shattered. Business is forced into bankruptcy. Millions lost their jobs, and worse still, almost 1 million has lost their lives. Direct human interaction is reduced to a minimum. Family members are forced to stay isolated from their loved ones at times. It is during this time of crisis we need leaders all over the world to rise up to the occasion, stand united, shoulder to shoulders, and cooperate to fight against the enemy of the world into oblivion, so as to preserve the human civilization and prosperity. In the face of this current crisis, what role can leaders play to confront the challenge effectively? Are the Chinese values, culture, and philosophy relevant to the current leadership that attempts to bring new hope to the people of the world? What is leadership? In simple definition, leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. It captures the essentials of being able and prepared to inspire others. In today's environment, a new type of leadership that promotes corporate social responsibility ideal is essential. It is a multi-layer concept with different responsibilities. Besides gaining profit for the shareholders obeying law, being ethical. He has added philanthropy, to be a good citizen, as an additional layer. Effective leadership adapts to changes and finds ways to fulfill its obligation to the stakeholders and the community which it serves. Nearly every aspect of leadership is affected by culture. The values, beliefs, norms, and ideals embedded in a culture could influence leadership behavior, views, and strategies. The COVID-19 pandemic knows no border. It has launched a vicious war against the human race, and it is therefore imperative for the world to come together as one, irrespective of differences in culture, race, and religion. Great leaders should learn and understand different cultures and make the best of them to achieve their goals, especially in the current context. In my speech today, I'll examine the Chinese value in culture and how some of which could be relevant in today's crisis faced by the world. The traditional cultural values of the Chinese are harmony, benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, honesty, loyalty, and filial piety. Of this, the core value is harmony, which means proper and balanced coordination between things. The value of harmony advocates harmony, but not uniformity. Chinese society tries to maintain harmony between mankind and nature, between people and society, between members of different communities, between mind and body. So according to the concept of harmony, the universe unites diversity. It is important to note that difference does not necessarily mean contradiction, which sometimes does. It, however, at times constitutes a necessary condition for harmony. Differences could complement each other in nature and society. Uniting diversity is the basis for the generation of new things. So a leader may hold different views, but he does not have to follow others. Instead, he seeks to coexist harmoniously with them. Leaders should be aware that harmony promotes coexistence and co-prosperity, whereas difference complement and support each other. We have seen unending conflict in the world due to political and ideological differences. The conflict even exacerbates now, when the entire world is fighting against a common enemy. This is a time for all the world civilizations and social systems to communicate with and learn from each other through peaceful competition. Current leaders should pursue co-development by seeking commonalities or preserving their difference, like looking for a vaccine or cure against the coronavirus for the entire world communities. The ideal society, according to traditional Chinese culture, is a world for all and a world of universal harmony. The word crisis in Chinese consists of two meanings: risk and opportunity. I therefore see this current crisis as an opportunity for business, community, and political leaders to embrace the concept of harmony, which advocates mutual respect, peace, cooperation, coexistence, and win-win development. Leadership should embrace this concept more than ever. Most countries in the Asia-Pacific region has been able to combat and minimize the adverse impact of the COVID pandemic with great success. The leadership and the people has displayed a high degree of discipline and respect for laws. The Asian success could also be attributed to the Chinese in Asian cultural concept of group identity, collectivism, and shared responsibility. In this respect, you are defined by your relationship to the larger group. All your actions, such as wearing masks or not, or social distancing, don't just reflect on yourself, but on the group as a whole. Take Malaysia, my home country, for example. It's ranked second behind Taiwan as the world's best anti-epidemic country. Yes, Malaysia's early preparation in stockpiling all the PPEs, medical aid, extra, helps. Indeed, the spirit of good capitalism for-profit enterprise in which wealth creation and social goods are motivators in how they do business, truly came alive to support public effort. Foundations and other voluntary organizations also contributed PPEs, test kits, food, and medical aid for low-income groups. In my city of Toronto, the Chinese Cultural Center, in which I'm the ambassador, has truly embraced the Confucian teaching of respecting the elders and the Chinese family value of filial piety. During this pandemic period, CCC launched the One Mask at a Time campaign to help safeguard against COVID-19. Within a few weeks, 230,000 was raised with a dedicated team of volunteers. Masks were delivered to 22 long-term care facilities, 22 senior apartment buildings, and over 70 multicultural organizations with senior membership in the most critical time. Currently, CCC is undertaking 1 meal at a time campaign. So far, we have distributed 4,000 warm lunch to 500 seniors twice a week. There is a saying in Chinese, we share the fortune, but we also share the burden of your misfortune. 有福同享，有祸同当. The little act of giving makes a senior feel there is care, love, and empathy in this world, even in crisis. When you feel you are being isolated and abandoned due to movement restriction measures imposed by the government. In conclusion, I just hope the leaders of the world will learn from this crisis and work towards the concept of a world for all and a world of universal harmony. 世界大同，天下为公. Yes, the Chinese values and culture are still relevant in dealing with today's crisis. The world may face another crisis in the future, who knows, due to climate change or another epidemic that will threaten the very existence of the human race. But if we treat each other as members of one big family, brothers and sisters, unite and work together, we shall overcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry Lee. Our next speaker is Mr. Danai Ishimklo, Secretary General of the Eurasian Council for International Cooperation and Security in Kyrgyzstan. He has held important positions such as the plenipotentiary representative of the President of the Kyrgyz Republic on legal support from 2008 until the present. He is also the co-founder of the Urarut Kyrgyz Armenian Fund. Let's welcome Mr. Danai Ishimklo with a round of applause.
Уважаемые руководители, уважаемые участники, дамы и господа. Пандемия коронавируса самым беспощадным кардинальным образом меняет человеческую жизнь. До недавних пор человечество было единым организмом. Весь мир был связан взаимными обязательствами и общими интересами. Теперь же ситуация резко изменилась. Закрыв границы, мир разбился на мелкие части. Каждая страна стала бороться с распространением вируса самостоятельно, забыв о содружестве, взаимовыручке и взаимоподдержке. Проявилось эгоистическое отношение стран к всеобщей трагедии. Люди сами стали жертвами хаоса, воцарившегося повсеместно. В результате принятых государствами срочных мер по борьбе с пандемией резко возросла безработица, появились материальные проблемы, сложности с передвижением, снизилось само качество жизни. Люди стали вынуждены отказываться от своих привычек и потребностей, принимать новые условия, чтобы предотвратить распространение болезней. Политика социальной изоляции и дистанцирования способствовала переходу к виртуальному общению. Это единственная возможность для поддержки связи. Коронавирус усилил позиции демагогов, популистов и националистов, желающих порвать все существующие отношения с другими странами и превратить свои государства в автаркии. Пандемия привела к экономической рецессии, которая может оказаться сильнее, чем кризис 2008 года и даже Великая депрессия 30-х годов, увеличивая риск прихода к власти реакционных и радикальных сил, использующих недовольство простого народа политикой правящих кругов. Последствия пандемии окажут сильное влияние на жизнь людей в течение еще долгого времени, даже после ее окончания. Особенно это коснется экономической, политической и социальных сфер, а также демографической ситуации. Обвал мировой экономики становится все более очевидным. Национализм и другие темные силы глобальной политики усилят свои позиции в постпандемическом земном пространстве. Мир станет еще более разрозненным и опасным. Вырастет угроза конфликтов, а экономическая рецессия будет способствовать смене отдельных правительств по всему миру. Однако, если проанализировать настоящую ситуацию, то мы увидим, что вирус одновременно преподал нам и много полезных уроков. Во-первых, децентрализованные системы управления оказались более эффективными, нежели в странах с централизованным управлением. Южная Корея – демократическая страна, но ее реакция на вспышку коронавируса оказалась более эффективной, в отличие от большинства соседей по региону. Уровень смертности от нового вируса в Южной Корее составляет менее 1%, что существенно ниже средних показателей по всему миру, включая Китай, где этот показатель приближается к 3%. Сеулу удалось справиться с COVID-19 гораздо более эффективно, чем Пекину. Не путем полной блокировки страны или другими жесткими мерами, а благодаря массовому бесплатному тестированию и эффективному лечению. Также только среди стран Организации экономического сотрудничества и развития Республика Корея занимает первое место по темпу экономического роста. По сравнению с прошлым годом поднялась на 3 строчки вверх и стала 9-й экономикой мира по объему ВВП. По международному индексу инновационности Корея занимает 10-е место в мире. Для сравнения, Япония занимает 16-е, Китай 14-е места. То, что считают неадекватными мерами по борьбе с распространением вируса, чаще всего является результатом некомпетентности политиков, которые находятся у власти, а не издержками демократических систем. Как показал нам пример Южной Кореи, открытые общества могут справляться с кризисом также более эффективно, чем страны с централизованным подходом к управлению. Последствия пандемии коронавируса демонстрируют важность глобального сотрудничества, мирового порядка, базируемого на совместном доверии, взаимоподдержке и взаимопомощи, а также необходимость создания институтов, способных в подобные моменты кризиса мобилизовать все силы и принять необходимые меры, прежде чем национальные правительства опомнятся. Отсутствие мирового лидера существенно осложняет борьбу с подобного рода глобальными катастрофами. Пандемия преподала множество уроков человечеству и показала то, насколько разрушительным может быть авторитаризм, а также слепое эгоистическое продвижение сугубо национальных интересов. Нам же остается учиться на ошибках, извлекая из них уроки, чтобы не допускать подобных оплошностей в будущем. Я считаю, что в нынешнем кризисе, впервые со времен дефолта 1998 года, социальная повестка становится важнее, чем экономическая. Учитывая изоляцию, закрытие сотен тысяч предприятий, рост безработицы, социальное измерение, переоценка нравственных ценностей выходит сейчас на первый план. В контексте работы над этим направлением еще более возрастает роль лидера, руководителя компании. В кризисные времена лидер не просто менеджер, должен стать точкой опоры и сплотить вокруг себя команду. Ведь в бизнесе, как и в спорте, успех зависит не только от капитана, но и от каждого игрока. От того, как слаженно действует вся команда. Всех нас ждет тяжелая работа по восстановлению бизнеса и адаптации к новой среде. И мы, как ассоциация, готовы работать бок о бок с нашими компаниями и вместе искать ответы на вопросы, которые поставят перед нами новая реальность. А заканчивать свое выступление позвольте мне словами доктора Мун Сон Мёна. Мы должны понимать, что все люди на свете, наши братья и сестры, нам необходимо отнестись к проблемам, существующим в мире, как к своим личным проблемам. Гражданин мира, заключивший в объятия любви весь мир, не может без боли в сердце воспринимать проблему голода и постарается помочь всем людям, даже если придется поделиться едой из собственной тарелки. Спасибо большое за внимание.
Thank you very much, Mr. Danai Ishimklo. Our next speaker is Professor Dato Dr. GP Doraisamy Govindasamy, Senior Board Advisor of International Business Academy in Switzerland, also a Senior Education Business Consultant of Rights Newstar in Malaysia. He has other important positions, such as the Hon Secretary General of World Humanitarian Drive Malaysia Chapter from 2019 until today. Since 1998, he has been the Deputy President of Malaysia, Corruption Watch and Legal Advisor of Penang Youth Council. Let's welcome Professor Dato Dr. GP Doraisamy Govindasamy with a round of applause.
Hi, good afternoon. This is GP Doraisamy from Malaysia, the advisor for the Universal Peace Federation. Today, I'm going to talk on the role of business leaders in the post-COVID era. This was organized by the Universal Peace Federation International Leadership Conference 2020. Now, what are the opportunity and hope at a time of global crisis? Now, we are going to look into a few issues, very important issues that's affecting this world at this moment because of this pandemic virus, COVID-19. Now, this pandemic virus has very badly affected many international businesses, especially governments, firms and corporations and individuals who are involved in businesses, both locally and internationally. Now, international business is very much tied to the political environment in any particular country and elsewhere around the world. Now, you can see in the history, in the past, that the pandemic virus COVID-19 of Wuhan, China, has strained the relationship between countries. I mean, example, China and USA relationship. Yeah. So many countries have directly or indirectly affected because of this COVID-19, especially in the international business strategies. Now, the rapid dissemination of technology. Now, due to the pandemic virus, now the advanced technology in digitalization has taken place. Now, there's a lot of intense competition, and production on a global scale has also been slowed down because of this pandemic. Now, there are many questions related to international business in this survival mode. Now, how do international business survive in this pandemic virus? Now, look at the international aviation industries, very affected. Many airlines companies have been forced to close and wind up their companies. Now, because of that, lots of jobs, especially pilots, all related to airlines. Yeah, jobs have been lost and people are looking for jobs elsewhere. Now, where are they going to go? Now, again, this pandemic virus has greatly affected the demand and supply. Now, if you look into the business, in any business, there must be a demand and there must be supply. Yeah. And the demand, when there's the demand, there must be greater supply. Now, this has greatly affected in this business world. Yeah. No demand, and where does the supply goes? So most of the supplies are wasted. Yeah, because of less demand. I mean, certain goods. Now, coming to the second very important core values of international business is the labor supply. A lot of laborers today are moving around the world. We have a lot of migrant workers, yeah, in many countries now. Now, what about all these workers? All have been affected. Some are stuck in their own country. Some couldn't go back to their countries because of this pandemic virus, because transportation has affected this labor supply. Now we need to, in this pandemic virus, we need to reinvent and renovation of facilities for the market forces. So this is what the world is going through. A lot of technological changes is taking place. A lot of training and retraining is taking place. Now, my next question. What is the new normal? What is the next way of doing business in the new normal era? And I got a few answers for this. There must be drastic change to the work formats. Now, many people are doing work from homes. Yeah, at one time, working from home was something very different. Yeah, most of the employers would not like you to work from home. But today, employers are willing to tell you, or willing you, the employees, to work from home. Because why? This is the new norm now. Now, the labor force has to be trained how to handle themselves, how to be disciplined to work from home. Now, secondly, this is the era of digitalization of business concepts. Now, we have to change most of the business concepts, international business strategies. For example, marketing strategies. How do you done? It is all done online. So today, online platforms have become very famous, very popular among international businesses. So today, there's no choice. In the new norm, marketing forces have to learn online business platform. And secondly, today we have a lot of meetings on online, Zoom, webinar meetings. Those days, people like to travel, yeah, to attend meetings locally or internationally. Today, you can do a meeting 1 hour, 2 hours, or even 3 hours, sitting in your home and be connected to the international world. So this is one way of doing our business in the new normal. Now, have home-based businesses. Today, people are setting up businesses in their compounds, in their house, in their own areas. So we have to give them new trainings to suit to the new normal era. So these are some of the ways of doing business. We can't avoid, because this is going to be the future of doing business, both local business and international business. Now, with that, I would like to end my short, simple presentation on businesses in the post-COVID era. So these are some of the points or some of my suggestions to the international business world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dato Dr. G.P. Doraisamy Govindasamy. Our next speaker is Mr. Jim Filippo, Deputy General Manager of Tubular Copra Processing Authority, a Republic of the Marshall Islands government-owned enterprise. He is an accomplished author with a published book on the biography of Eurasian Paramount King, the late RMI second President, His Excellency Imata J. Kabua. Let's welcome Mr. Jim Filippo with a round of applause.
Greetings from the Republic of the Marshall Islands. My topic is on the role of leadership in post-COVID era and the economic impact on small island nations in the Pacific. The Honorable Dr. Akcha Moon, our Mother of Peace, and the proponent of the establishment of the APU, Asian Pacific Union, and co-founder of the Universal Peace Federation, UPF, alongside with founder, the late Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, I am truly honored and privileged to speak through invitation to this important international forum for the first virtual International Leadership Conference under the flagship of the UPF. Excellencies, distinguished leaders, global citizens, ladies and gentlemen, to address and confront the issues of today, we will need the full mutual cooperation of all nations, in particular to all neighboring Pacific Island nations to work together and brainstorm to find remedial solutions and pragmatic resolutions to economic challenges facing our countries. We will have to look forward, still honoring the past of our ancestors to secure a bright future for our children. Indeed, all these will not succeed to take place overnight. But the point is, let us begin now. As one of the smallest independent island nations of the Pacific, we are dependent on outside large and rich donor partners nations for many of our needs economically. With the advance of the COVID-19, where all forms of travel restrictions are being implemented, the economic impact of many of our private businesses that realize economic activities from travelers have come to a standstill. Importation of supplies from our business partners are being closely monitored on a moratorium basis. And I am glad to report that the Republic of the Marshall Islands is currently and still free of the threat of COVID-19 pandemic. This was through the working prayers of all and leadership participation in curtailing and setting proclamations before the preliminary stages of the COVID-19 became the world #1 topic. It is one reason we are not one of the now free COVID-free nations. Though we are confronted with this deadly virus, other pressing issues and problems such as climate change, impacting our low-lying coral islands are giving leaders in our country, urging leaders of the world on this global issue. Again, I am proud to say the Marshall Islands is on an historic pedestal, being one of the 4 signers of the Paris Peace Accord Agreement on climate change. The issue of the rising illegal drugs finding their ways to the lives of our social youths is at an alarming rate. Drugs are being found on beaches in dozens of our islands, being washed ashore from passing by vessels of unknown origin. All we know that it is heroin. We are pleading to the nations of the world not to look only at the COVID-19 as an epidemic, but to look into the drug being infiltrated into these small islands, bringing another form of epidemic to unknown proportion. Global citizens of the world, one nation cannot do the work alone. We will need the greatest minds of the world to work together, to find ways to approach each other and work out not only the differences, but to work with our mutual independence for a greater benefit that will bring prosperity to one and all. We have to establish and build resilience of faith and hope for a better and bright future for our children and grandchildren. I want to emphasize the work of Dr. Hak Chung Moon and the late Reverend Sung Young Moon for their combined inspiration and dedication that they did in spreading the philosophy of peace and love and service for humanity throughout their lives. It was their unceasing work around the globe to gather leaders of the world to create dialogues. The continuing effort and task by the UPF and International Association for Economic Development, IAED, for which gave me this opportunity to speak. As an attendee to some of these conferences and forums, I just want to thank my Marshall Island UPF Director, the Reverend Kenichi Ito, for directing me to speak to this international forum. As stated, the Republic of the Marshall Islands is centrally located in the northern mid-Pacific part of the Pacific Ocean, southeast of the Hawaiian Islands. We have a long way to cross the ocean of uncertainty. However, as a nation, we are willing to work on interdependence between nations of the world. We have our ocean for natural resources, and one of our main resources is our copra production, which we serve Asian countries and neighboring nations with our copra products. United States, Taiwan, Japan, Germany, and Australia are nations that we have economic ties. These great nations will have to work together to bring economic stability to nations in the Pacific region, to strengthen mutual economic cooperation, and to involve these small nations to dialogue with them to bring about prosperity and sustainability to all. Thank you, Dr. Hak Chung Moon, our Mother of Peace, for your work and service to humanity, that it will continue to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Mr. Jim Filippo. Our last speaker is Dr. Tan Moniban, Vice Chairman of Cambodia Chamber of Commerce in Cambodia. He has 20 years of experience in agriculture, law, and construction business. Since 2001, he has been the Vice President of Mon Restiti Group, the largest agro-industrial firm in Cambodia and ranked top 5 in Southeast Asia. He is also the Vice President in the Cambodia Chamber of Commerce. Let's welcome Dr. Tan Moniban with a round of applause.
Thank you. The esteemed guests, our speaker, ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of Cambodia Chamber of Commerce, I would like to extend my appreciation to Universal Peace Federation for organizing the important virtual international leadership conference. And I'd like to join, exchange my view with the business leader around the world on the role of business leader in the post-COVID era. The world today is facing with unprecedented challenge and certainly seriously impacts economic human prosperity. It is our duty to jointly contribute to resolving this issue to ensure peace, security, and stability with the foundation for economic development and need to be maintained in all times. Today, virtual conference provides effective platform for businessmen and leaders around the globe to discuss and share input for the post-COVID-19 economic recovery and explore business opportunity at the time for crisis. The outcome of the conference will provide insight, thoughtful input, and all can benefit from. For Cambodia, COVID-19 pandemic have been kept under control and never reached any case community transmission. Nevertheless, there have been negative impacts on some sectors as textile tourism and aviation and other service industry as well. In the government issue, intervention measure aiming to stabilizing the socio-economic aspect and promoting economic growth through strengthening Cambodia competitiveness, economic diversification, and structural reform. Those measures including tax relief scheme, special financing scheme to help rehabilitate and promote SME and working capital financing program. At private sector level, Cambodia Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with all business association and international chamber of commerce in Cambodia, signs joint statement provides timely and accurate report of COVID-19 impact business community and seek government support. And in addition, we have certain private sector working group that meet regularly to provide update and real feedback of current status business impacts by pandemic to ensure that those challenges are taken into the consideration of results timely and manner. So we provide a lot of trainer and coaching to SME as well in this regard. Despite negative impacts, some sectors are emerging opportunities such as agriculture, agro-industry, food delivery, and ITC related for instant Cambodia rice export to the world have been increased considerably for both new existing market. The sitting guests, ladies and gentlemen, effective combating the COVID-19 pandemic requires concrete international cooperation and support by multilateral organizations and all of. I request to the government around the world to effectively implement the recommendation by private sector. As far as observed, a lot of forum and conference have been conducted with resourceful to outcome and straightforward to recommendation. However, most of the time, looking good on the just paper, it has not been truly to implement it. I encourage all stakeholders to share best practice on how to overcome COVID crisis and request those countries that are capable of responding COVID-19 to provide support hand to those and need to particular technology transfer that will be help boosting economy. I think everyone know right now is a technical transform very important during the COVID pandemic 19. Cambodia business community is pleased to welcome any support from our friends around the world, and we share the best to the world society as well. Cambodia Chamber of Commerce welcome possibility cooperation with our counterpart and offer necessary support to arrangements implement certain outcome of the conference. I wish conference today is successful once everyone stay safe and peaceful in mind for the group. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tan Molivan. Reminder that the next session will be a closing session. The speakers will discuss about the opportunity and hope at a time of global crisis, role of youth and students. The session moderator will be Mr. Koji Matsuda. He is the International President of International Association of Youth and Students for Peace. Please stay tuned at the closing session, start 4 p.m. I'd like to thank so much to the speakers for informative and interesting presentation, and to the participants for very active participation. Hopefully, this session will be beneficial for everybody. Please give big applause for the speakers and for you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Masatate Kajikuri. In fact, this excellent session, we really appreciate.
future full of hope and passion. Endless possibilities to achieve our dreams. Where your dreams begin, Youth and Students for Peace. Join us on this adventure. In the 20th century, the age of material civilization, science and technology's swift advancement allowed extreme individualism to run rampant. Pornography, violence, free sex, and drugs dismantled the family. Youth were thrust into a cold and dark world. In the 21st century, we need a balanced approach. More public-mindedness, less destruction and division. In 2015, the UN set 17 Sustainable Development Goals and is calling for global participation. What then is the key to harmonious and sustainable development? In 1976, Muhammad Yunus, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate from Bangladesh, developed the concept of microfinance. Microfinance has produced sustainable results. The concept has spread to 140 nations globally to alleviate poverty by providing loans to small social units and teaching collective responsibility. Well before this, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon applied this concept in their quest for world peace. They advocated the smallest unit, the family, is where world peace and happiness begins. The family is where we first learn to live for the sake of others. We are calling this concept micro-peace.
Peace begins in the family, specifically in the relationship of parents loving their children unconditionally and children developing the heart of filial love toward their parents. Brought into society, this principle of living for others creates good character in citizens, patriots in nations, and saints in the world. But it all begins in the family.
Greatest peace sprouting from the smallest unit, one human family under God. In 2005, Father and Mother Moon launched UPF with a world tour emphasizing a new vision of peace. Night after night, city after city, visiting one nation per day, they taught that the family is not only the school of love, it is also the cornerstone of world peace. Beginning with the establishment of the Collegiate Association for the Research of the Principle in 1966. The many institutions they have founded convey a vision of peace and teach universal principles that strengthen marriage and the family.
When I was young, I took the Pure Love Pledge and it changed my life. From that day onwards, I was able to build my character and moral values. For the happiness and future of my students, I am continuing teaching Pure Love education at my school.
Father and Mother Moon have established more than 50 educational institutions around the world. MOUs have been signed and character education is being taught in thousands of schools on all continents and in all cultural spheres, East and West. After Father Moon passed away, Mother Moon carried out his intentions and established the Wonno Pyongne Scholarship Foundation, which supports the education of youth and students globally. The Sanok Peace Prize honors and supports heroes who are creating a culture of sustainable peace and are role models for future generations to look back on. On February 23, 2017, Mother Moon, the first international chairwoman of the Women's Federation of World Peace, launched Youth and Students for Peace.
위하여 사는 참 사랑을 실천하는 나눠줘도 더 부족함을 느끼고 더 나눠주고 싶고 이런 마음 자세 이런 환경을 만들어 가야 하는 너희들 앞에 책임이 있다.
With the support of Women's Federation for World Peace and the Universal Peace Federation, YSP is a rapidly growing global network of game changers.
เยาวชนและนักเรียนแห่งสันติภาพคือความหวังและอนาคตของโลกโดยผ่านความรักที่บริสุทธิ์และความกตัญญูจะเป็นจุดเริ่มต้นแห่งความสุขและสันติภาพโลก
एउटा असल परिवार समाज समृद्ध राष्ट्र निर्माणको लागि युवा विद्यार्थी अवस्थाबाट नै सकारात्मक विचार उच्च भलाइ साँचो प्रेमको अभ्यास गर्न आवश्यक छ
À travers la Fédération des jeunes et des étudiants pour la paix, je travaillerai afin d'accomplir de grands rêves.
Youth and Students for Peace, YSP builds on the past and opens doors of hope for the young generation through academics, service, sports, international exchanges, universal character education, environmental responsibility, among other things. In Asia, Africa, Korea, Japan, the US, Central and South America, Europe and Oceania, YSP is becoming a wave of goodness sweeping the world today. The idea of one family under God is taking root and growing in the hearts of people, young and old alike. Be a part of this global awakening. Let's create a new future working together. We can do it.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, leaders of youth and students, good afternoon, good evening, 안녕하세요, konnichiwa. Welcome to Session 10, the closing session of the International Leadership Conference with the theme, Opportunity and Hope at a Time of Global Crisis, the Role of Youth and Students, co-organized by the Universal Peace Federation, Korea, Japan, and Asia Pacific, and International Association of Youth and Students for Peace, IAYSP. I'm Koji Matsuda, President of the IAYSP International, and it is my honor to be your moderator for this final session. So far, more than 70 distinguished leaders have given remarkable presentation, which provide us with hope and opportunity at a time of global crisis. Over the past 3 days, specific sessions have focused on 7 various fields, including heads of states, parliamentarians, religious leaders, first ladies, media, academicians, and business leaders. The final session will discuss the role of youth and students. Young people have an important and unique responsibility to create hope and opportunity in this global crisis, because young people have the time, energy, and will to build a better environment for the future. Madam Moon, the founder of UPF and IAYSP, said last year that youth have the keys to the development of a nation, and she expresses in her autobiography that youth and students are our future and hope. The United Nations has long recognized that young people are a major human resource for development and key agents for social change, economic growth, and technological innovation. This final session will discuss the role of youth and students in giving rise to opportunities and hopes at a time of global crisis. I'm sure you will learn many things from this session and find ways to support the work of youth and students to create a peaceful world as an important part of UPF's new initiative, the Asia-Pacific Union. Iaysb was founded by Mother Moon in 2017, and we have 48 national chapters in 7 regions throughout the world. Today, we have 3 speakers: the president of Iaysb Korea, Japan, and Asia Pacific. And now it is my honor to introduce to you our first speaker. Mr. Dong-Yong Kim is a youth leader and a proficient trainer with over 20 years of experience in designing numerous peace projects and leadership seminars for the youth. During the last years, he has been at the forefront for the unification of Korean Peninsula and peace between Korea and Japan. Let us welcome our first speaker from Korea, the regional president of Iaysb Korea, Mr. Dong-Yong Kim.
Thus today, it's an amazing accomplishment that this conference has already been going on for a number of days, exploring solutions to the chaos caused by COVID-19. I sincerely respect all of you who have participated. It is an honor for me to be here to speak about my hope for the future. Social disarray, such as a coronavirus pandemic, it is a very difficult time for socially disadvantaged people. In particular, young people, students, and the children face severe difficulties. The economic crisis has led to crisis of employment. To young people, the crisis of employment led to a loss of hope. There is also a crisis in education. Educating in person has become impossible. As a result, the education system is facing major challenges because of distance learning and being unable to prepare ahead for such a crisis. However, ironically, solutions to the chaos COVID-19 has a lot also depends on youth and students. It's the age of what has been coined untact, or doing things without direct contact with others, that we now find ourselves in. However, for young people, untact lives were already their daily life. They continue to communicate with each other regardless of direct or indirect contact. Across the world, borders are closed and self-interest among countries is growing. However, young people are already communicating as citizens of the countries called Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok without the distinction of borders of race. In fact, young people are already early adopters of emerging technologies in the fourth industrial revolution, such as 3D virtual reality games, internet shopping recommended by AI, and Apple's Siri, and Android Assistant. So therefore, young people already play a very important role in overcoming this crisis. Admire the leaders. As I have mentioned above, young students in this time of the coronavirus-19 pandemic are in danger. Please protect and help them. Students and young people are the key to the better and more hopeful future. Please support and learn from them. West Korea is trying to provide alternative solutions during this time of crisis. During the 2020 summer vacation, about 1,000 young college students were dispatched nationally around Korea. This was a project we called Peace Designers Assemble, where teams of 3 to 4 students conducted environmental projects, education support programs, volunteering to assist the farmers in rural areas, and more, over a 40-day time period. As part of our environmental project, we ran a campaign called Little by Little, conducted both online and offline. Let's take a look at this video and data about the campaign.
제가 설명해 드릴게요. 혼자서는 변화를 만들기 어렵죠. 하지만 함께라면 변화를 만들 수 있습니다. 함께라면 우리의 미래를 위협하는 문제들을 해결할 수 있습니다. 하루에 하나의 실천으로 시작하면 돼요. 모두의 실천들이 모여 큰 변화를 만들 수 있습니다. 하지만 우리 모두가 동참하지 않으면 변화는 어려워요. 더 좋은 세상을 만들기 위해 하루 하나의 행동을 실천해 볼까요? 실천과 함께 SNS 해시태그 리틀바이리틀로 공유해주세요. 이 메시지는 우리의 세상을 살릴 수 있습니다. 우리가 함께 살아가는 세상. 올 여름 21일간 환경을 살리기 위한 하루 한 가지 작은 실천에 동참해보세요. SNS를 통해 오늘은 어떤 실천을 함께 할지 확인해주세요.
그럼 우리 한번 변화를 만들어 볼까요? 지금 바로 함께 합시다.
I would like to encourage that you join me in this movement. The educational gap is widening in Korea due to COVID-19. The gap between urban and rural area, high-income and low-income earners, and high-performing and low-performing students in school is growing ever larger. Thus, we gather the middle and high school students from low-income families in rural areas and ran a distance learning support program called Borderless Study Room. Also, during Peace Designers Assembly period, because of the worsening climate change crisis, there was a severe flooding and typhoons in Korea. We responded to this emergency by sending 1,200 students to volunteer in the disaster areas where they help support the relief work being done so that residents can recover from the damage. We call this emergency response Peace Designers First Response. We did all these activities to advance the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Especially during coronavirus crisis, the SDGs are a very valuable mission that we can continue to look towards. Dear leaders, I ask again, please protect, support, and help find solutions to the problems future generations facing during the COVID-19 pandemic. We at Iaysb Korea will try our best to provide the solutions needed during this challenging time in history. In closing, I hope that you all stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dong-Yong Kim, for your inspiring speech. I was so inspired by the efforts of peace designers in Korea to promote many projects to support communities and disaster areas. Next, let me introduce our second speaker. Mr. Hiroaki Takeuchi has joined several international projects and support street children and victims of disasters in Thailand and the Philippines. Mr. Takeuchi took up his current position in 2019, and he has educated lots of youth about the value of living for others through Iaysb volunteer activities, such as the Korean-Japan Friendship Project and regional Activate projects in Japan. Let us welcome our equally important speaker from Japan, the regional president of Iaysb Japan, Mr. Hiroaki Takeuchi.
Hello, everyone. I am Hiroaki Takeuchi, the president of Iaysb Japan. As we all know, the world today is facing a global crisis due to the coronavirus pandemic. Conflicts between powerful nations and countless environmental issues. The late Reverend Sammyeon Moon dedicated his life to the development of young people so that they attain global perspectives, and he called on the youth to find your purpose, change your life, have an adventurous and pioneering spirit, dream dreams that others dare not imagine, set goals for yourselves that have meaning, and become global leaders who can bring prosperity to humankind. The Iaysb is an organization founded by his wife, President Dr. Hak Ja-hang Moon, and it is aimed at providing opportunities for youth and students to tackle the various social problems of today. The Iaysb collaborates with many to foster global leaders. We focus on raising and cultivating peace designers who will bring about a peaceful society. The activities of Japanese peace designers are expanding around the world. For example, in the Asia-Pacific region, Japan has continuously been engaged in effort toward building Japan-Korea friendship since 2014. This is because the great friendship between Japan and South Korea, two major leaders in the Asian region, are indispensable to the peace and stability of the Asia-Pacific Union. Particularly in Indonesia and Cambodia, we have also been carrying out forestation project of moringa trees since 2016, as we look to make contributions in solving global environmental problems. This year's tour, which was scheduled in March, was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, two planned reforestation activity was able to be carried out with the support of local partners and with the minimum number of participants. Moreover, locally in our home country of Japan, peace designers are engaged in various activities based on societal needs. In Osaka, we have been conducting PR activities to raise awareness of SDGs. Also, another significant effort we made this year was based on the 130th anniversary of the friendship between Japan and Turkey. It was in 1890 with the Turkish warship Ilc went missing in the ocean near Japan, and its crew were rescued by local. This incident led to a friendship that lasted over a century. Our team in the Osaka area has come up with ideas that can be carried out even during the coronavirus pandemic. They have organized cleanup project and memorial at the Turkish Memorial Museum, as well as an online meeting with Turkish youth and students. These activities were able to be carried out with the cooperation and support of many, including local assembly members that are also peace ambassadors. Iaysb Japan will continue to develop activities to solve challenges that Japan and the world face today. We would also like to mention that we have an event called Synergy, which is driven by our peace designers. It's a collection of seminars and forums held in various areas of our country. We present various efforts and research done by the youth and promote the peace project to solve social issues. In addition, we are making effort into PR through magazines and YouTube to send out information of the activities of our peace designers. Looking ahead, our young peace designers today will thrive with their expertise and become the youth peace ambassadors of tomorrow, who will play an active role as the next generation of leaders in alignment with the 7 respective organizations of UPF. In this time of global crisis, through the international network of IAYSP, we will raise peace designers among our youth that can transcend beyond individualism and nationalism with a heart to embrace and forgive past differences in order to realize the vision of one global family. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hiroaki Takeuchi, for your illuminating speech. I was inspired by the efforts of Japanese who went abroad to contribute to creating peace in Asia Pacific countries. Finally, let me introduce our third speaker. He is a proactive international youth leader, a passionate lecturer, and a social media influencer. Before joining IAYSP in 2017, he served various international youth organizations, such as the Collegiate Association for the Research of Principles, Youth Federation for World Peace, and the Junior Philippine Institute of Accountants. Let us welcome a versatile speaker from the Philippines, the regional president of IAYSP Asia Pacific, Mr. Richel Halipa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koji Matsuda, for your very kind introduction. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests from around the world, ladies and gentlemen, 안녕하십니까, konnichiwa, namaste, good afternoon, assalamualaikum, and mabuhay. At this juncture in human history, we are facing many dreadful crises, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, family breakdown, juvenile delinquency, drug abuse, sexually transmitted diseases, mental health problems, civil wars, exploitation, extremism, refugee crisis, border disputes, economic wars, environmental problems, political instability, ideological conflicts, religious tensions, virtual threats, and racial struggles, among others. Looking at these predicaments, many would succumb to hopelessness, insecurity, or psychological illness. However, as Mr. Albert Einstein once said, in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity, unquote. Now, let us focus on the existing conditions of our youth. We are aware of the American sexual revolution, or the free sex movement, which started in the 1960s, initiated by the disillusioned youths. This global trend brought about the rapid growth rate in family breakdowns and many social ills. During the same decade, to combat such trend to self-destruction, the founders, Father and Mother Moon, initiated in 1960 the True Family Movement. This concept came to be called the World Peace Marriage Blessing, which inspired many youths to join in the renowned event called the 360,000 Couple International Blessing Ceremony in 1995. Such a rapid growing movement has overcome the barriers of nationalities, races, religion, and ethnicities, and raised numerous youths to become peace-loving global citizens. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me show to you my PowerPoint presentation. My topic is entitled Opportunity and Hope at a Time of Global Crisis, the Role of Youth. For 3 days, we have learned the numerous massive global efforts of the Universal Peace Federation. Despite this, many works are still left unfinished. With the passing of our founder, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon in 2012, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, also known as the Mother of Peace, took up the baton in advancing the cause for world peace. One of our many noteworthy initiatives is the establishment of the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace in 2017. Since then, hundreds of thousands of youths from around the world have been inspired and joined in our cause. For example, in the Asia Pacific, Iaysb was inaugurated in the United Nations ESCAP Hall and Impact Arena in Bangkok with the participation of 13,000 youths and students. After that, Iaysb was inaugurated in the Philippines, Nepal, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Solomon Islands, Australia, New Zealand, and Palau, among others. Many more nations are on the queue to be inaugurated. Iaysb is advancing world peace by empowering youth and students to become global citizens through character education and peace projects supporting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Let me take this opportunity to show to you a few of our many diverse programs and activities. In Thailand, we have consistently promoted pure love education. In the Philippines, we have conducted the 6th International Youth Assembly, and soon another assembly will be organized. In the Philippines, right after the volcano eruption, our Iaysb with affiliate organizations conducted the relief service. And in Palau, we did the coastal cleanup in 2019 together with the Philippines in order to clean up the beaches. In Nepal, to promote mind-body unity and discipline among the young people, we have promoted, together with Tong Il Mudo Federation, the martial arts peace studies, in the same way in Thailand and in the Philippines. And now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have shifted our paradigm of transforming young people from physical to virtual. And so Iaysb conducted several of these programs in the Philippines, a series of online programs to educate and inspire and give hope to our young people. And as you can see, we have reached even to the 13th series of we call TSK, which originated in the southern part of the Philippines called Mindanao. And in South Asia, we have conducted several such programs in Nepal and other nations, including India. And in Bangladesh, we have conducted the same. And in India, we have conducted in partnership with the Royal Global University. And in the Philippines, we have supported the government's move to promote a comprehensive values education among the youth. And so we have supported and organized such program and peace designers training, as well as in Oceania, we have conducted several such programs online. And recently we have organized the International Youth Day together with the United Nations to celebrate online in the Philippines, in Cambodia, in India, and in Nepal. Consequently, Iaysb supports the call of our founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, for the establishment of the Asia-Pacific Union. Our founder outlined the need for creating such regional association during her addresses at the Asia-Pacific Summit in Kathmandu and Phnom Penh, and finally in World Summit in Korea. We believe that the establishment of the Asia-Pacific Union will usher in a new era of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, as well as become the catalyst for resolving the many complex regional and global issues. I hope that you will all steadfastly join and support our cause until the day we see the hope of all ages, the unified world of peace, has come into a reality. I sincerely thank the Universal Peace Federation for organizing this significant virtual gathering during these trying times. Thank you very much, everyone. Kamsahamnida, arigato gozaimasu, danyabad. May peace be upon us all. Assalamualaikum, Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Halipa, for your encouraging speech. The members of Iaysb in Asia Pacific are making models by organizing many effective online programs and showing hope to young people. I appreciate their efforts. As you can see, members of Iaysb are going to the front line, creating sustainable peace and development. They are helping to build the Asia Pacific Union and supporting UPF activities for peace. Through these presentations, we felt hope, knowing what youth and students are doing in various communities and nations throughout this part of the world. Don't you also feel a renewed sense of hope? I'm sure you do. I'd like to again thank the three presidents of Iaysb for their encouraging message today. Iaysb is empowering youth and students to become global leaders to create peace in their communities, nation, and world. We will do our best to keep encouraging youth to lead activities and give hopes to young and old alike at this time of the COVID-19 crisis. Finally, I would like to suggest youth and students who are watching this session to participate in UPF and Iaysb programs in your nation to learn more about our peace vision and start action and projects for your community. Then you can find hope and become lights in the community, nation, and world. I sincerely thank Mother Moon and the leaders of the Universal Peace Federation for organizing this significant virtual conference. Thank you so much for listening to this session on the activities of youth and students. The next program is the presentation of Ilc Resolution. I'd like to invite Dr. Robert Kittel, Chair of the Ilc Resolution Drafting Committee, as well as the Chairman of Iaysb International and the Regional Coordinator of IMAP in the Asia Pacific. He will lead the final part of this closing program. Let us welcome Dr. Kittel.
Thank you, Koji Matsuda-san, the president of Iaysb International. I would like to begin this closing session by recognizing dignitaries from UPF and affiliated organizations that are with us today live. They have helped make this International Leadership Conference possible. First, the UPF Chair of Korea, Professor Yan Ah Moon. That's me. I think we need another. Let me continue. The President of the Family Federation for World Peace in Korea, Reverend Lee Gi-song. Women's Federation for World Peace International, President Dr. Julia Moon. The Family Federation for World Peace in Japan, its President, Reverend Eiji Tokuno. UPF Chair in Japan, Reverend Masayoshi Kajikuri-san. Family Federation for World Peace and Unification for the Asia Pacific Region Group, Chair, Dr. Chung-Chik Yong. UPF Chair for the Asia Pacific, Honorable Eknath Dekal. Welcome to the closing session of an amazing International Leadership Conference. Once again, thank you, Koji Matsuda-san, the Youth and Students for Peace and their team, doing an outstanding job. Having so many activities for young people gives all of us hope. And what we see is just a small fraction of their activities, not only here in the Asia Pacific region, but also around the world. Again, thank you and congratulations. Now let's turn to the second part of this closing session. It is the call to action. In this session, we will have two parts. The first will be the presentation of the ILC 2020 resolution. The second part will be the closing statement by our UPF chair for the Asia Pacific region. The ILC resolution. The ILC conference was phenomenal. I know that as a UPF staff member, I should not praise our own organization and our own program, but I cannot help myself. I have been working with UPF since its establishment in 2005. This is the first virtual ILC ever. It was not only historical in my mind, it was extraordinarily successful. Ambassador K.V. Rajan, former member of the Indian Foreign Service and permanent secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi, India, gave an exceptional summary of this conference. Ambassador Rajan said, and I quote, "UPF is possibly the only NGO which has the wish, the will, the vision, the means, and the institutional underpinning to assist governments and international bodies like the United Nations in confronting multiple challenges facing the world across us, the broad spectrum of human activity." End quote. We had to take all of this, 3 days, 10 sessions, 85 speakers and monitors, and put it into one document. This is the ILC 2020 resolution. Dr. Thomas Walsh, chair of UPF International, drafted the document, and we are grateful. He had to put he had input from 8 UPF regional chairs. In addition, there was input from the UPF associations and affiliated organizations. From our Asia Pacific regional group, 3 people formed the advisory committee. Mr. In-kyu Wee, the chief director of UPF Korea, Mr. Sunsake Otani, the secretary general of UPF Japan, Honorable Eknath Dekal, chairman of UPF Asia Pacific. The drafting committee had 9 members. I was its chair. Others included Ambassador Rajan, Dr. Lek Taviturm Sakun, Mr. Greg Stone from Australia, His Excellency Ek Ta from Cambodia, Dr. Venus Augustin from the Philippines, Professor Masahisa Hayashi from Japan, Dr. Milan Ratna Sakya from Nepal, and Dr. Jinjun Kim from Korea. Let me just, before I introduce Reverend Tokuno to read the document, just this morning, I got information of a news release that went out providing the highlights of this Asia Pacific ILC to our region. The total number of emails that were sent, 1,539 Asian countries, news journalists and organizations in mainland China, Hong Kong, India, Australia, Philippines, Singapore, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, and others. The list of journalists, editors, freelance writers, and the like, online news outlets, magazines, radio, TV, goes on. We had input from the South China Morning Post, the Indian Express, RTHK Radio in Hong Kong, the Hindu, Apple Daily, Bombay Times, news.com.au in Australia, Hong Kong Economic Journal, Xinhua.net, Xinmin Evni News, CCTV 13, and also our own papers, the Seikai Nippo in Japan and the Seikai Ilbo in Korea and the Washington Times. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Eiji Tokuno to read the ILC 2020 resolution. Dr. Tokuno is the president of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, Japan. He is also the chairman of the International Highway Foundation. He was born in 1945 in Kanazawa City, Ishikawa Prefecture in Japan. He graduated from the University of Toyama, the Department of Economics, with a bachelor's degree in 1979. He got a master's degree in religious education and an honorary doctorate at Sun Unification Theological Seminary. Currently, he is the president of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification in Japan. In consideration of time, Dr. Tokuno will read an abbreviated version of the resolution. The entire text can be viewed online at our upf.org website. Dr. Eiji Tokuno, please.
Thank you so much, Chairman of Iaysb International, Dr. Robert Kittle. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, hello everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Eiji Tokuno. I am President of the Family Federation in Japan and also the Senior Advisor of UPF Japan. Through this commemorative ILC 2020 for our past 3 days, we have reached the statement of the resolution as a fruit of this ILC 2020. From now on, I'd like to express the content of the statement of resolution in the following way. Please join me. International Leadership Conference 2020, September from 11th to 13th, 2020. ILC 2020 resolution. At the time of serious global challenges, and on the occasion of the 15th anniversary of the founding of the Universal Peace Federation by the late Reverend Dr. Sam-Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, UPF convened its first virtual International Leadership Conference ILC on September from 11th to 13th, 2020, dedicated to the theme of opportunity and hope at a time of global crisis, interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Our purpose was to seek solution to current problems while also exploring new ways of envisioning our common life together as one global family. Tens of thousands of participants attended ILC 2020. The ILC 2020 program was designed to be carried out concurrently in 3 regions: the Asia Pacific, the Americas, and Africa, Europe, Middle East. The program themes were built around the core association of UPF. The deliberation of ILC 2020 were guided by the ideals of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. As an outgrowth of the session, a variety of recommendations and proposals were advocated in hope of overcoming critical challenges of our time, such as poverty, conflict, and environmental degradation. We hereby summarize the core recommendation for consideration by our global UPF network, as well as by government, NGOs, faith-based organizations, and the people of the world. Asia Pacific proposed the formation of a working committee to explore prospects for the formation of a formal association or League of Nations, tentatively known as the Asia Pacific Union, including research on its structure in line with the European Union or the African Union. Africa, Europe, Middle East proposed the formation of the working committee to explore ways of greater communication, trade, and mutual benefit between Africa and its European neighbors. The Americas propose the cultivation of greater partnership of the UPF with existing multilateral institutions to advance greater hemispheric cooperation and mutual interest in security and human development. In addition, specific recommendations were made for each UPF association. These included head of state, parliamentarians, religious leaders, first ladies and women leaders, media professionals, business entrepreneurs, academicians, along with youth and students. We ask that these proposals be given serious consideration, including feedback and suggestions. We conclude with a word of gratitude to Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, co-founder of the Universal Peace Federation, and congratulations to the Universal Peace Federation on the occasion of its 15th anniversary. Thank you so much, your kind paying attention.
Thank you, Dr. Tokono-san. Thank you sincerely. Without your support, it would not have been possible. Especially appreciating the work that Mother Moon is doing, really deserve that. And that was mentioned throughout the conference. Given the wide net that was cast while drafting this document, I will assume that it has unanimous consent. In any event, it will certainly stand as a beacon of hope as we move forward together. Now, we move to the call to action. This is the final and concluding part of our International Leadership Conference. To address us with his closing remarks and to moderate this final segment, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the person who was MC at our opening session 3 days ago. Honorable Eknath Tekal has been a minister in the government of Nepal twice. Currently, he is the chair for 2 organizations supported by UPF. He is the chair for UPF Asia Pacific region and for the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, also in the Asia Pacific region. I have worked and lived in Nepal with my wife and our 2 daughters for 10 years. I have grown to love and admire his work and his leadership. More importantly, his heart and public-minded attitude. He is a man of vision with a deep heart. His forte, his strength, is his ability to work easily with all kinds of people, especially political leaders at the highest office. He has no fear. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Honorable Eknath Tekal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Kittel, for your kind introduction. Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders from Korea, Japan, and Asia Pacific, ladies and gentlemen, greetings of peace. This International Leadership Conference, jointly organized by UPF, Korea, Japan, and the Asia Pacific, is now coming to conclusion. We have just passed its resolution. Thank you, Dr. Eiji Tokuno, for presenting the resolution on behalf of all the participants and all 3 regions of UPF. To the resolution drafting committee and all participants, thank you for your support. 6,758 participants from 75 different countries registered to our Zoom system in Asia Pacific. In addition to this, Korean and Japanese participants also registered at their own nation's UPF registration system. We approximate that around 10,000 people have registered to this International Leadership Conference from 75 nations. Actually, this is a double the turnout compared to our original plan of 5,000. Also, most of our participants are leaders of society. For example, from Nepal, 95 parliamentarians registered to participate in this ILC. Besides this, we have recorded about 15,000 viewers in each session by YouTube Live and Facebook and other social platforms. Altogether, over 100,000 people viewed this ILC until now. The 3-day conference had 85 panelists from 27 nations and representing 7 different religious traditions. Among these are 4 former heads of state and government, 4 first ladies, 10 lawmakers, which includes speakers of parliament, 5 diplomats who have served as ambassadors of their nation to the Under Secretary General of the United Nations, several university presidents, and also representatives from 9 prominent media houses and 8 business enterprises. This is indeed a remarkable accomplishment in promotion of peace, uplifting hope, and underscoring opportunities at this time of global crisis. Congratulations for the successful ILC 2020. We organizers are humbled by this great interest and turnout. Your support and trust are UPF's strength to continue to work in spreading hope and peace around the world. Also, we'll assure that the resolution that passed just few minutes before will be implemented in partnership with government, parliamentarians, and civil society. In closing, we would like to acknowledge our UPF International and especially its chair, Dr. Thomas G. Walsh, and also Vice President Dr. Taj Hamad, actually who is joining with us in this closing ceremony. Similarly, we acknowledge our UPF chair, Professor Anna Moon from Korea, and also WFWP International President, Dr. Julia Moon, and her entire team, including Mrs. Blessy Dhakal, the International Coordinator of IAFLP. Similarly, we'd like to acknowledge FFWPU Korea President, Reverend Lee Gi-song, who is also joining with us in this closing ceremony. And also from Japan, President E.G. Tokuno of FFWPU Japan, and also UPF Chair, Reverend Masayoshi Kajikuri, who have made tremendous support for the success of this ILC. And from our Asia Pacific, we want to acknowledge the chairman of Asia Pacific Regional Group, Dr. Chong Sik Yong, who is joining with us from Thailand, and also entire UPF Asia Pacific team, especially our Secretary General, Mrs. Ursula McLachlan. So she's joining us right now from Indonesia, and also Dr. Kitel, who is joining with us from Philippines. We also would like to thank Reverend Julius Malikdem and his team, hardworking team in the Philippines, for the excellent management of the overall event. Thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists, moderators, resolution drafting committee, and sub-regional as well as national representatives of UPF and FFWPU throughout Asia Pacific. And of course, our translators from 10 different languages for your excellent performance, which led to the success of this 3 days ILC. Most importantly, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our co-founder of UPF, Mother Moon, lovingly called as Mother of Peace. Without her blessings, this ILC would not be possible. Thank you, Mother Moon, Mother of Peace, for all of her blessing for the success of this ILC in Asia Pacific and also other ILCs throughout the world. So this concludes the 3 days International Leadership Conference 2020. Thank you very much.